Testing, question mark? Testing. Hey everybody, I'm gonna play the jingle as the signature for all this. Yeah, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Welcome to the live stream. A couple things to go through. I have a stream tomorrow. We're the Tesla tracker, the great Maxby, Danny, and I'm going to see whether or not we can get a couple other folks like Jess, Heidi, Seth is going to be there. The Red Fox Rider is going to be there. Maybe Garcia, if he can wake up. We're going to see whether or not we can get the usual crew to come in. And it's going to be streamed on both on Matt's profile here. It's going to be streamed. If you don't follow him already, follow him at Hughes13. Pretty uncreative name. He also has a stream on our Triumphant channel. So I do have an alternate channel called the Triumphant channel. So if you don't follow, just look at my profile, follow there. It's going to be live stream over there. I don't think it's going to stream to Matt's anymore. But yes, it's going to happen tomorrow, and it's going to happen at around 9 a.m. Eastern. So I'm going to talk about stocks. I think I'm going to ask Danny to go for some charts here. So, take a look out for that. Subscribe to the Triumphant channel. That's pretty much all the housekeeping stuff I want to talk about. So let's kind of talk about a little bit about the charts here. Thank you for joining the membership, Frog Dog. I appreciate it. William, Fetchin, the usual suspect, seems to be here. Please let me know if you have a hard time hearing me or whatever. But I'm going to spend a few minutes go for the indexes here. S&P 500 just looks like it wants to go higher. This is the weekly chart. And you have survived the rate cut fears. The rate cut fears is past us. The triple witching on Friday is past us. Hey, DK, welcome. Yeah, you know what? Everybody got scared about rate cut being, the start of the great financial crisis. It could still be. It could still plummet down pretty well. It similarly got rejected here on Upper Bull in Japan here on the weekly, but it has reclaimed the 20-week moving average. And guess what? This big candle over here, the last 2 weeks with price kind of going up. Technically, you can call this like a bullish kicker, if you will. And this one just is like a continuation of the bullish kicker. It's on increasing volume. What happened was this, right? What happened was you have the S&P 500 dropping from July all the way to the first week of August on some, pretty scary things, supposedly on the, macroeconomic side, yen carry trade, whatever. A little bit scary because it's on increasing volume, but huge Marbasu candle is able to give us a very nice V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery happened on exhausting volume. Looks like they wanted to back test something, right? Where they wanted to back test the 20-week moving average, back tested it, bounce on high volume, right? S&P 500 looks really good. QQQ doesn't look nearly as good, but it had a V-shaped recovery. It's still back tested the 20-week moving average that's up pointing, and so far we're close to a week above of it. The volume for S&P 500 is greater than that for the QQQ. But currently, it bounced back about support, right? I'm going to go to the daily chart here and kind of tell you what exactly happened. It's kind of, how should I say that? It's kind of not unexpected. So if the yen carry trade was that scary, then how come all it did was it went from this all-time high over here and it just came back down and it just ended up closing the gap over here? That's pretty much all it did. As soon as that gap closed, it went up a lot higher. Well, it left some gaps down here. What did it do? It came back down, closed the gaps, right? And then what happened after that? Went up higher. Well, what happened on Friday with triple witching? Came back down, closed the gap. It doesn't look that scary to me. I think that maybe the next week or two, who knows? Like you never know. Like, it can plummet all the way down to like 450s, 460s. I do not know, what the short term holds. But so far, even though the VIX went to like 65, all the QQQ did was like came back down and just closed the gap. So I'm not that bearish actually. Just overall, I guess I never really am that bearish as long as you know me. But I just don't really see anything like any of the bearishness here in the market. Look at the IWM here. IWM continues to look really good. The last two candles is on increasing volume. The two red candles before that was on pretty low volume, right? All of this favors overall, you're going to most likely have some bullish continuation. Now, can it come down back here and back test the 2 teens again? I guess it can. Like anything can happen. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do, but anything can happen, right? They can certainly come back and they can do whatever the heck they want to do in the short term, just like what QQQ did, gap up, gap down, close the gap over here, left the gap up here, went back, closed the gap, and then went back up, right? So there's a little bit of gap down here around 212. Can it come down and close the gap? Sure it can. Does it have to? No, it's a daily gap. You can be left there for like eternity. It doesn't matter. The point is that we've had some pretty good recovery, and the point is that we do have a little bit of a exhaustion over here, but on a little bit of lower volume. So I overall am still favoring that this up move over here on the weekly and high volume is telling us that there might be some bullish continuation. But it wouldn't surprise me a bit if they wanted to just kind of plummet down to like close the gap around 210 or maybe even go a little bit lower. That doesn't really bother me. ARK Fund, what's it doing? Well, it doesn't have the volume that the other ones have, but even ARK Fund, if you look at the weekly chart over here, that's also above the 20-week moving average, and 20-week is kind of pointing here. So when I mean high volume and low volume, it really is dependent on what you're seeing relative to what the other moves has been made, right? And also the trend of the volume also matters. The trend matters also more than the actual volume. Like over here, like this move up is on pretty high volume. So you know that whenever you have a correction and it's on relatively low volume compared to over here, you know that it's low conviction, right? And the next thing you know, you have increasing volume and kind of gone up, right? And then whenever you have something that's going down like that, this is what's scary about this like 3 black crows over here, is because it's on a little bit increasing volume. But sometimes all it takes is just, about some side consolidation over here to really try to figure out what happened over here. But that's what I meant by volume. Like you look at all this volume here and you basically just try to compare what's going on, and basically looking at volume and trying to predict what the whales are doing. That's because these volume bars, like it's not retail. It's big money that's moving these volume bars. So if you see that the trend, let's say if it's a really bullish trend, is on like really big volume, that really gives you confidence that this is a real move. And if it happens to go up on like low volume, that tells you that, hey, maybe the conviction here is not as strong, right? But if you have a little bit more of a high volume move over here, that means the conviction may be stronger. That's all. So all right. The funny thing too, I do want to point out the other daily chart here. You know how they cut rates by 50 basis point, right? That's great. That's great news. Then how come the 10-year went up after they cut rates, right? This is the daily chart. How come the 10-year went up by like almost like 0.1% after they announced they're going to cut rates? Well, because the federal funds rate has been up in 5% for a long time, but the real yields for 10-year yield has already gone from like 5% all the way down to like 3.6%. You already have quantitative easing going on. Like the money supply has already been increasing for the US, and you already have like no longer have quantitative tightening. You already have like some relative quantitative easing, but nobody's going to tell you that. So what happened after they cut rates? Well, you have bounce because it's just been low in the low bullish band here, and it wanted to retrace back to the mean, and that's exactly what it did. And rates look like it's probably going to get rejected here on like a downward sloping 20-day. Got a little bit of the trees or top over here to it. So yeah, I'm not that scared by anything really. Like I think all these things are more or less kind of technical. I don't really think that the Federal Reserve really does anything significant at this point. I think they just kind of follow whatever happens, right? I do have a request, which I'm going to go through here because it's a request by one of my members. So I'm just going to go and get over with. So this is Biotech Bull, 3x shares. I guess this is the LABU. I guess this is maybe a leverage funds for what's that? Biotech is XBI. Leverage for XBI. So let's kind of like just zoom out here. A lot of people are getting more interested in XBI now because of increased liquidity, because of easing conditions. So all I gotta say is this: XBI overall, you're gonna chart it. Monthly tells you a better picture actually, and I'm gonna just go ahead and pull up the Ichimoku cloud here. The Ichimoku cloud, I painted the red cloud here purple just because I'm an artist. Not really, but the XBI, you had the bullish crossover here back in March 2024. Right now, the Tenkin's finally caught up to price, because initially when price is all the way up here, Tenkin's still all the way down here, and the blue line's all the way down here. But right now, given the price kind of gone sideways up here at resistance, mind you, 100-ish is very, very strong resistance because it's been dating all the way back to like 2018. So it's a pretty strongish resistance, but you are having some pretty decent push up to this area. 5 green candles in a row back in the resistance area. But just like I said, volume is low, right? So is this a high conviction move that is going to end up pushing into the cloud and just end up mooning from there? No. Does it have enough juice potential anyway? It can. All it has to do is just go sideways. Where do I see XBI going to go? Well, it depends on whether or not the broader market looks good or not. I can totally see it getting rejected by the cloud. I can totally see it getting rejected by the cloud. The first thing is kind of getting rejected by the cloud right now. It could potentially spend the rest of the year underneath the cloud, and then maybe December, January, end up pushing into the cloud and go from there, right? So the if you're asking, have I considered doubling input values and backtesting calls? I generally don't like to do that because I don't want to fit my bias by changing the set of numbers that are generally working pretty well. I look at different time frames. So instead of looking at weekly, I might switch to like 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Sometimes I look at like 18 hours for Bitcoin. I don't like to change the setting that much. I would get to Coinbase as well. But anyway, looking at popping in, maybe just kind of go sideways because the volume is kind of getting a little weak, and it might end up getting some cloud rejection for the next month or two before going in. So going back here to LABU, it's a leverage fund, so you're going to have a lot of decay. It's unfortunate that is the case, but you are going to have a lot of decay. This downtrend over here, let me see, I've drew this for a reason, right? I think there's a little bit of bullish divergence here on the R side for the 2-week chart here. And it looks like the 2-week chart is breaking into the cloud. This is a positive development, right? So it's really telling you the 2-week time frame that well, I guess it was, I need to draw this not with the wicks, but actually with the candle bottoms, right? I'm going to take off the magnet. So on this bullish divergence, it's working out. It's maybe a little bit rejected your 2-week cloud, but it's pushing the cloud. You got a bullish crossover here, right? So maybe on a lower time frame, that's what I meant. Like on the higher time frame, I could totally see it kind of going sideways here. Tenkin and Kijun, right? But I can totally see on as it goes sideways, it could even potentially backtest, down the bottom of the cloud is possible. But I think the downside may be a little bit more limited. I think LABU, by limited, I mean it can still go down to like 100, 100, 400. But the upsides, it's all limited right now because it's range bound. I think it may be like 155. Even on monthly here, it might not go down that far. It might go down to like 130. Top might be 155. So you're range bound right now. And the volume is like non-existent. So it's really kind of a little bit indecisive. It breaks out the range. It can potentially break down, but it could also break out. I don't know which direction it's going to go. I'm looking at the XBI chart. I think it might end up initially going back down first before going up. But that's kind of where I'm seeing here on LABU. Another thing I like to look at too is, instead of looking at all this stuff over here, the one chart I really like to look at is the 20-month moving average. I like the fact that it's reclaimed the 20-month moving average, which is why I'm saying you actually have some potential downside, because it could totally come back down, back test like a flattening 20-month moving average. It'll still be a bull trend, right? And it's happening at LABU, which probably means that it's happening in XBI in a stronger way, and it is, right? So it's in a bull trend, it's just hitting resistance, and it might not have enough energy to like push through your system and come back down here before going up. That's kind of what I'm thinking about that stock. So everybody is asking about these crypto-related stocks. So I'm just going to go straight cut to the chase here. If you want to talk about coin, you want to talk about CleanSpark, why don't we talk about Bitcoin? What do I think about Bitcoin? I think Bitcoin's bottomed around 49K. And I think that the rising tank and the rising blue line over here is probably going to serve as support to push price up higher, maybe as soon as later on this month. This right here is, to me, is a little bit more equivalent to, right, where the Tenkan is going up and serve as support to push price up higher. This area over here is maybe very similar, more or less, to over here, except that here you already had the bullish cross, and here you don't, right? So I think that you most likely are going to have some bullish continuation to push price up higher from here on out. How much further will it backtest? Is it going to come back down again to the 56, 57, 58, 59,000 zone before going up? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. They can play their games. They can do whatever they want in the short term. All I know is if you look at the weekly time frame, you have really flipped the Ichimoku cloud from resistance over here, breakout, and backtest as support, right? Can it come back down to the cloud to maybe around, who knows, like 54, 55,000 to backtest the cloud, freak everybody out before going up higher? Possible. Could it backtest the rising 50-week EMA? Possible. Could it come back down and backtest the rising 50 SMA? Possible. All these things are possible, right? Does it have to? No, because you already backtested cloud once, you already backtested all these moving average twice. So I think that there is a good chance that we don't go down that far. The only problem right now that I'm seeing is I do see the daily chart looking kind of weak. And what I mean by the daily chart looking kind of weak is, let me see, I actually want to show you some volume here. You got a little bit of a tweezer top over here, right? You got a little bit of these like trees looking thing over here. You got a little bit of a trees looking thing over here. So this is a little bit of a weakness here. Now, this is a little bit of a lower high compared to that, but this is also a little bit of higher low compared to that, right? So price is just consolidating sideways. I do think there's a possibility where price can go down and backtest some stuff before going up again. How far does it go down? Let's talk about it, right? So what has been happening over the last week or two or so, right? You have a rising 3 that has worked out, right? Big giant green candle, 3 red candle, and then push, 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 right? And I think it's getting to the point where we're just hitting resistance here, and we're a little bit losing the bull trend here. So it looks like it's looking like it's got some weakness. The bull's going to take a break and see what the bears got to do. How far can the bears push down is really anybody's guess. So to kind of give you an idea, if I do a trend line, just coming from here, going down here, is already broken that trend line, right? And that's not a bad thing because you want these trend lines to be broken. Now, once you have a trend line like that broken, does it mean the price might have to come back and back test that around 60,300, 60,200, somewhere around there? At the end of the world, that would just be back testing this breakout zone over here too, right? So it's pretty like a lot of confluence over here, right? Would that be the end of the world? No. Try to push up on the upper Bollinger Band here for like 2 days in a row, just couldn't push up any further. Once always need to cool down. No problem. I'll get to fintech for sure. Don't worry. I love fintech. I mean, we'll talk about SQ as well. But I can totally see kind of back testing this area. I can totally see back testing the 20-week moving average, 20-day moving average as well. And if the move goes down on low volume, then that would be it. I don't think it needs to go down any further, right? But I can totally see it potentially go down to like 59. Especially if it ends up like just taking its time, kind of hit over here to kind of finish up the September a little bit slow. I can totally see it doing that, right? But right now, it's showing a little bit of weakness, so I'm just a little bit more cautious. But what I mean by cautious, it doesn't mean I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to keep everything I have. I'm going to pay attention to a backtest area. I want to see a backtest area. And if Bitcoin miners or Coinbase end up not responding well, I think they're probably going to end up responding decent, to be honest, even if Bitcoin pulls back. But If it doesn't, then I'm going to try to look for opportunities to kind of maybe add one more time here, or maybe it goes down a little bit further. Maybe I'll try to find some other support zone on a weekly time frame here to see if I can try to add, a little bit more, right? The thing is, we are still underneath resistance, and the resistance that you're going to see is you got a lot of resistance here. You got a bull run support band. Right now the price is kind of above that. I'm not sure we're going to end up closing the week above that. We're going to find out tomorrow in roughly around like 26 hours or so. We're going to find that out whether or not we end up closing back above the bull run support band. I think we have a good chance to close above the bull run support band. The reason why is because it's really truly flattening, right? Kind of like over here, initially we have a hard time kind of closing above the bull run support band. Got rejected over here almost perfectly, and got rejected over here, the lower part of it. And then finally, as it flattens, you're able to finally push through, right? Over here, what's going on? Well, down, 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 rejected. Now it's flattening. Maybe we'll push through this week. We'll see. Maybe this is it. Maybe the month of September is not as bearish as everybody thought it was going to be. Maybe this is actually a bullish month because we already front ran it for like 6 months in a row, right? But you are still at resistance, so it's good to be a little bit more cautious. The resistance are going to be shown here. You're basically stuck at the top of the Ceviche cloud. You're also got the let me see here. Yeah, you also got the Ceviche tank in here as resistance. You also have the bull run support band here as resistance, right? So we'll see whether or not it's able to close back above all this resistance. But that's what this weak candle did. It pushed through all these different levels here on the Ceviche, on the Ichimoku, and on the bull run support band. So all these are very positive development. I am favoring that the lowest it goes maybe around 59,000, maybe goes a little bit lower, 57, 56,000, maybe. It doesn't have to. I can also see a scenario where it just kind of, come back down maybe to around, and then just show you around 60,300 and go out higher from there, right? Would be possibly. Now, let's talk about y'all's favorite stocks, right? Ask about Coinbase. Let's talk about Coinbase. Coinbase is still underneath a lot of resistance, and it's not really anything too scary to think about because it was above a lot of support before, and it just kind of broke, right? Right now, you're underneath a lot of resistance that needs to be broken above, but when you broke the support down, the volume was not very high at all. So whenever the committed bulls come back and show a little bit more of a committed move, kind of like how the committed move that they had over here, when price really pushed through the Ichimoku here, on the weekly chart, you have a lot of bullish continuation that happened after that, right? Because of this big giant committing move. You really don't have that much commitment from the bears. This move over here just seemed like it's more purely technical than anything. And right now we are closing the week back inside the weekly Ichimoku cloud. On the 2-week chart also is telling you, yeah, there's some resistance. We broke down underneath resistance, and now that's the Kijun over here on the weekly is now resistance, right? But just like here, you're basically saying like you're at resistance, but the volume is low. So all it takes is just a little bit of high volume. You can potentially break the resistance, and you can even get all the way up here, right? In the low 200s. I can totally see that. Possibly by the end of the year, it could be like in the low 200s, because this whole down move over here since March has been on like no volume at all. And this is something that is alarming for bears. If you're bearish on Coinbase right here at this level because you see a potential bear flag, over here, and you're calling it a bear flag, and you think price can go down lower, I think your risk of getting your shorts burn or your puts burn would be a lot higher down here, because this is also a bear flag. Like it's always a bear flag before things reverse, right? You already had the ABC correction. And if you also are looking at the Fibonacci retracement levels, let's see, I'm going to do the magnet here. Let's see, from the all-time high during his IPO to the all-time low, you're breaking back above a very, very important level of the Fibonacci retracement. And this is on the log scale, by the way. But you basically found support at a very, very important level here at the 0.618, which is the golden ratio. And this is going to be very, very good support for Coinbase. All it did is got rejected at 0.786 and it came back tested 0.618, basically back testing this breakout over here. And it looks like what it's doing, looks like it's holding. So maybe all it takes just a little bit of volume to push back things back above. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be back above 200 or 220s. That's kind of what I think about Coinbase. If you really want to look at market symmetry, I can even do a Gann square real quick because it's my live stream. I'm just going to make you all wait. A lot of time you think Gann square takes a while to do. Not really. I just need to pick a number in the multiple of 45. So I'm going to do 180. There you go. And the number right now is 5. I'm going to do 1 and see. 1 is way too far out. I can't do 1. Let's try to do 2 maybe. Yeah, maybe you have some pretty decent market symmetry here. So let's take a little bit of a closer look to it. Yeah, it's breaking back above the arc, right? Got rejected here at the horizontal, got rejected here at the angle, came back down, back test the arc, held, right? So currently in the week, close back above the arc, right? Look at how nice the market symmetry is over here, right? Top of the arc, bottom of the arc, bottom of the arc, right? It looks, the angle also looks like it's very important here too. So I think that right now we might be at a good area where we might bounce back up, but you are having a lot of resistance down below, so we'll see. Yeah, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I think there's potential for coin to keep going up. Like if you want to look at some higher targets and things like that, over time I can change that number to 5. And if I change the number to 5, I'm seeing a little bit of a different picture. You are getting a little bit of resistance over here at the angle, but currently price the week closed back up about the angle, right? So if you're able to stay above the angle, and and this is the 45-degree angle, which is pretty important. If you're able to stay back above the 45-degree angle, where is it going to go? Well, it could potentially go up here back in the 240s, right? Or this arc over here, maybe down in 220s. Maybe it stays underneath the arc angle, just kind of go back to the 220s. Who knows, right? But I do think that price is probably going to end up wanting to go up. Now, if you ask me about how high the cycle can go, yeah, I mean, I think at least like 500. Like the way the thing that Ethereum's going to run, the thing that I think altcoins going to run, I think there's a chance for Coinbase to hit like four digits potentially this cycle. And I'm not like, just telling you because I'm trying to get views, but you have price down here at 30 and went over up to like almost close to 300 within a matter of what, like less than a year and a half. So who's there to say that you're not going to just make another 7 or 8x, especially if altcoins just kind of go berserk, right? If global liquidity goes up. So anyway, done talking about Coinbase. I think I'm also going to talk about CleanSpark. Don't worry. I'm starting to get a lot of these requests coming in, you guys. Man, you guys. I still think that my strategy overall is more bullish than Bitcoin because if you look at the weekly chart, I'm seeing, oh man, the tenor kind of breaks down a little bit here. But I'm seeing that there is a lot of consolidation over here, but there's also a lot of recent volatility that tells me the bigger move is probably going to come soon, right? Just like how there's a lot of volatility over here and a bigger move come after that, right? So this is the MSTR of a Bitcoin chart, really ever since May of 2022. My strategy has outperformed Bitcoin. Big part of the reason, I keep going back to this. Part of the reason why I don't think that Bitcoin has topped is because MicroStrategy actually looks like it's got a lot of relative strength over Bitcoin. If you just look at MicroStrategy chart over here, look at last cycle, the peak, February 2021, Bitcoin peak at November 2021. MicroStrategy was never really able to make any higher high since February 2021, right? Here, MicroStrategy actually looks like it's outperforming Bitcoin. So that's why I'm saying, like in a higher time frame, I think Bitcoin probably still has a ways to go. I'm not really that worried about MicroStrategy. Otherwise, the technical looks very, very similar. Like if you look at it weekly, you just put the Ichimoku, didn't really touch it, but it got really close to it, If you look at the let me see. Yeah, you look at like the 50-week moving average, didn't really quite get to it, but it's close to it, right? A little bit of resistance here, but I think we get over that. You look at a 50 EMA, back test of 50 EMA. So a lot of things like technically very similar between MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. The whales are not scared yet. The whales think Bitcoin probably go higher despite their MicroStrategy. CleanSpark. What do you guys want to know about CleanSpark? Man, you guys just keep on shooting up all these requests, guys. Man. All right, I'm going to try to do what I can here. Let's do serious stuff. All right, without further ado, I think CleanSpark has found some pretty critical support. I mean, 0.5 technically is not really a retracement level, but half important, right? 0.5 bounce, angle bounced. This Gann chart here, I think I drew this on the weekly here, 720 and 1. Yeah. So you have a confluent zone of support here at the Gann angle and the 0.5 Fibonacci. And basically over here, you have price just kind of shot up above QFib level, got rejected here at the 0.786, came back down, couldn't really find support. It was stuck in a range here for a very long time. Couldn't find support here at the horizontal and bring back down, right? Broke underneath the 0.618, but found support at 0.5. So this is the new range. I do further notice there's a lot of technical damage there being done, right? But this is still a higher low compared to over here. Yet I think it's probably I don't expect prices to go up to like 20 just all of a sudden. I think that you probably would need to have a little bit more repairment to kind of get price to at least get back to like 12.5, push through that resistance. Then you're talking about pushing through resistance of around 13.6 or 13.7, somewhere around there. And then you have to challenge the 0.786 again. Now, with that said, volume is important, right? Volume is very important because the trend going up, it was going up on increasing volume, and trend going down, it's been going on declining volume, right? So volume is important. This whole downtrend over here is on pretty bad volume compared to the uptrend over here, right? So all it takes is maybe some equivalent of some of the volume that you're seeing up here before next thing you know, you have price like push through like multiple fit levels. So who knows? Maybe all it takes is just maybe over the next few months or so, some high volume candles and can hit the arc over here. And I think there's a lot of resistance up above. I just want to let you know that. But I think we're also at critical support. So what have I been doing with CleanSpark? I'm buying every week. That's what I'm doing. I'm buying every week. I think it's at decent support. I'm buying every week. Do I think that CleanSpark can come back down and back test and close the daily gap down here around $7? Maybe. I just don't see that it has to do that because I think that we're at some pretty decent support, and I don't think all caps have to close. What do I think about the bear flag over here? Well, I think about the bear flag as I think about any other bear flag. It always looks like a bear flag before it goes up higher, right? Bear flag, right? Bear flag, right? Bear flag, right? Higher high, right? Higher low, right? Compared to that. Still a bull trend. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with CleanSpark here. Now, if you ask me targets for CleanSpark, I did come up with a little bit of like a moon cat mal target up here in the triple digits because it's the arc up there, and because if you are not using the FIB levels based on log, if you look at the regular FIB level, that's also confluent with the 2.618. And around like October, November, I think that's also in general where the Bitcoin bull market might potentially end. So that's going to be what I think. Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Jesse for, yeah, Michael to Macro is, I don't know. I have nothing but good things to say about him. He is truly a kind human being, strong opinion, and he's real. I have nothing bad to say about him. I have everything good to say about him. Anyway, getting back to CleanSpark here, the Mooncat target potentially at the arc over here, confluent with the 2.618 level, you could potentially hit the triple digits, and that could potentially end the cycle. If Bitcoin ends up faltering, and if the global liquidity end up not really coming in like I expected to, it could potentially end the bull market maybe at the arc up here, right? It can also bend the bull market up here around 50, right? I do think that it's going to challenge this high over here. Now, CleanSpark is a little bit of a special story because I don't think they really become a true Bitcoin miner until December 2020. So the peak over here is really a cycle peak, right? So I can see it hitting, beating this high over here. I can see it going to like 50. I can see it doubling that and go up to like 100, 108, somewhere around there. I can totally see that happening. That's what I think about CleanSpark overall. And does it have to hit my targets? No. But that's how I'm positioned in right now, because it's still a bull trend, and because I think Bitcoin is still going to keep going higher, and because I think these miner stocks, they are also dependent on IWM. IWM is the Russell 2000. I think they probably share a very similar pool liquidity as the small cap stocks. They just do, and I don't think that the miners are going to run until you get the small caps and until you get Bitcoin both hitting all-time highs, right? That's why I talk about IWM a lot, because that really is the risk on sentiment, and these are small cap stocks. That's what they are. Mara, where are you, Mara? Mara is, so I did this Gantt chart here on the monthly. I did 180 and 1. Those are my factors. Where is, I actually need to go back and CleanSpark. Also, why I think they were bottom is if you look at the weekly chart, I'm going to make it less busy. You look at the weekly chart, and I've shown this on X like numerous times. If you don't follow me on X, follow me on there. My name on X is @CantonMal. Anyway, if you look at the 100-week moving average, we found support quickly, and that's kind of what I was calling for it to be like an ultimate support a couple of weeks ago, and it held so far, right? The reason why I think it's important because it was previously resistance here, support, resistance, right? It looks like this stock really cares about the 100-week moving average for some reason. We have just flipped, just like what Bitcoin did with the Yumoko cloud, we have just flipped the 100-week moving average from a negative sloping 100-week moving average resistance to a positive sloping 100-week moving average support, right? So all of this is very, very, very nice. And I think that you're going to minimally have a little bit of a dead Cantonese bounce to kind of close some of these weekly gaps up here above. Minimally, I think it's going to end up doing that. Sorry, I forgot to show you that. The reason why I think it's important is because Mara is doing the same thing. 100-week moving average is, for some reason, very important for Mara. Found support right there. Resistance, flip, support, right? What happened last time when you found support on a relatively flat 100-week moving average? Well, that was before. I don't think it's going to do this, okay? I'm just being very clear. But that was before this big giant parabolic bull trend. Right now, we're doing very, very similar. Kind of back tested a relatively flat 100 moving average. So that's also part of the reason why I think that is. Now, if you also look at this, the Gantt square over here, I drew this on the monthly, but you can also look at it here on the weekly as well. It's basically at a confluence zone at this angle and at this horizontal zone, right? I'm really looking at a lot of different support zone over here, which is why I think like miners, I agree with like the great Massby. If you guys don't follow great Massby, follow him as well. And he's great. It also bounced off the 0.136 here on the regular Fibonacci retracement. So far, it is getting a little bit rejected here in 0.5. Right, I was hoping to close about the 0.5, but it hasn't yet. One more thing I also think that is also very, very nice about these charts is the 20-month moving average. And I think it's very important to look at the 20-month moving average because, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here, like some of the Chinese stocks here too, because I do want to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit in fintech as well. Because the 20-month moving average really is a quick and dirty way to kind of give you an idea in terms of what the stock is doing. I like to look at it because if it's reclaiming the 20-month moving average from resistance to support, generally is when a beginning of bull trend happens, right? So far, it looks like we're also reclaiming the 20-month from resistance to support, right? CleanSpark is kind of underneath that a little bit here. It currently is around I think it's around 9.21. I think the month's going to close about 9.21 for CleanSpark is what I think, because it's very, very positive sloping. You can potentially end up pushing up, higher. Hey, Low Gains, welcome. Yeah, so I think it can potentially push up, higher with time, right? But so far is finding some pretty critical support. So yeah, Mara, I'm more bullish down here than I was, up here. Let's do it. I was buying like the lower part of the range. Whenever it gets to like 16 to like 18 or something like that, I was buying. The market ends up giving you like 13.2. You can do whatever you want to with it. This is a little bit of a tweezer bottom. So if the month closed above the 20-month moving average, which I think it would do for Mara, and you have a tweezer bottom over here, that's promising. These are generally like some pretty decent bottoming look over here. Hey, Jules, welcome. Bitfarms, same thing. Bitfarms is basically like Mara. There's really no big difference between the two. I think Bitfarms actually may be a little bit more bullish than Mara, but there's really no difference between the two in terms of how they're behaving, which is kind of crazy to think about. Now, Bitfarms is a little bit different from Mara because Mara is currently a little bit underneath the 0.5 fit level on the log scale, but Bitfarm has gotten over that. So Bitfarm is slightly more positive than Mara. And if you were asking me about like the Mara price target, because I kind of talked a little bit about that, I guess, with CleanSpark. I don't know. I mean, this scan is showing that it could potentially hit like the triple digits up here on the ARK, maybe like in the 130s. Depending on where it lands, right? If it lands later on in the year, it might be 1-teens. But I see it potentially just if things get really bullish, it can potentially push up. This cycle is also a lot slower, by the way. Like this cycle is just a lot slower in terms of liquidity injection, things like that. So I can see potentially the cycle might end up actually extending a little bit longer. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people actually think the cycle is just going to end early because a lot of the bullish move have already been exhausted because these miners just keep diluting. And they don't think that it's going to end up being sustainable. But I actually think that I'm not sure that that's really true because the gold liquidity is just broken out. Anyway, I can potentially see it hitting some of the ARK up here, but maybe minimally, hit around like 30s to 50s. I think minimally it's going to end up challenging this previous all-time high. Is what I think Mara is going to do this cycle. But I think it's probably going to go up to the higher levels up here, maybe in the 110 to 130. Bitfarms, what do I think? Do I think it's going to $75? No. But could it potentially go on to like 15, 25? Well, depends on what Bitcoin does, right? If you want me to draw again here to kind of look at market symmetry, I can do that here real quick. Gann Square, let's see, I can do it on a monthly because I did the monthly here with Mara. So I'm going to do this, and then I can actually, no, I want to actually go to the bottom because there's more history here. So let's go and do this, and let's go and do multiples of 45, which is going to be 180. Let's do 180. 180. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and put the input of 1 and see what it looks like. And it looks like it's just kind of stuck inside the ARK here, which is, I guess, is what it's doing. Market symmetry doesn't look as good here. So let's change the number to 2, see if we see anything different. No, not really. Like, for some reason, I might need to draw this on weekly. I'm going to give up. But I do think that it could potentially hit some of the upper targets. I think it's probably going to challenge this previous all-time high around like $10 this cycle. I think it's going to happen. And a lot of people don't think that to be the case. We'll see. We'll see when IWM breaks all-time high and Bitcoin continues to break all-time high. The sentiment is absolutely horrible right now, and Bitfarm is actually holding very, very well. So that's what I think. I have a position in CIFR. CIFR is a little bit underneath the 20-month moving average, unfortunately. It was not able to hold the 0.618, unfortunately. So yeah, I think it's just doing its thing, unfortunately. I think that CIFR still looks pretty good. I remember drawing again here. Yeah, but I think CIFR still looks pretty good. It's between 0.5 and 0.618. If you do a little bit of a linear scale, yeah, it's still kind of stuck between like the 0.136 and the 0.336 like it's been doing for a very long time. Got a little bit of a bear flag look to it, but that doesn't bother me, because price always goes up on a bear flag. Let me just do this real quick. I don't want to spend too much of your time doing all this. I just enjoy it. 180. 180 and 1. See what that shows me. Yeah, maybe get back into the maybe get back into the ARK here a little bit. We kind of broke down underneath ARK here a little bit, and maybe get back into it a little bit, right? If I do that, not that. Change again to like 0.5, which I think is going to compress that down a little bit further. It shows me a little bit better market symmetry here. All it did is really, it looks like it was going to break through got the angle support here. Looks like it was going to break through the ARK and go up higher, but got rejected 0.5 and just end up back into the ARK right now. So we'll see. We're underneath resistance. So CIFR is a little bit of a laggard, unfortunately, but we'll see. I still think that overall this is still a higher low compared over here, and this is still a higher high, right? Compared to all these highs over here. So I'm still in it. I'm not going to go crazy trying to buy CIFR because I still like to see what it does technically speaking. What is bullish? IREN is bullish. Higher highs, higher lows. I have nothing else to say about this. Like I have a position, and it's like way above like the 20-month moving average. It's got a tweezer bottom, like like Mara, like Bitfarms. I think it's bottomed. It's just underneath the 0.1618 though. So I think it's probably gonna, maybe take a little bit more time trying to get over that. But so far, there's really nothing bearish about like IREN. WULF also underneath the 0.5 Fibonacci level here. It looks a little bit like a bull flag. There's really nothing that I'm bearish about either. Way above the 20. Just needed to wait for the monthly Bollinger Band to expand before going up higher. WULF actually looks really, really good. You can have like these like Bitcoin miners, the other miners can go down 3%, WULF can go down 10%. It will still be more bullish than everything else. It's kind of silly. I have a position in BTBT because it's also above the 20-month moving average. So I find this to be favorable. So we'll see. We'll see how it happens, right? A lot of people want to talk about CORZ. I'm just going to put CORZ out there too. You're not going to see anything here on a monthly. On a weekly, it looks like it's just kind of broke above this horizontal zone over here. So I think that overall CORZ is probably going to have some pretty decent bullish continuation moving forward. I don't think this is a distributed top. I think that CORZ actually has some more momentum moving up forward, right? RIOT, just a major disappointment. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like if you look at the monthly, this is a major laggard here. It's just like what is it doing? Like I don't know, right? But this does look like a hammer bottom. So I do think that there's a good chance that RIOT has already bottomed, just like all the other Bitcoin miners. I think that also a good chance that they've also already kind of bottomed here too. If I just do a 90 and I change that factor to 1, yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of market symmetry here. I think what I need to do is really expand it a little bit further to capture more. 180, and then I can change that to 1. Still a little bit too far. So I changed it to 5. Yeah, this is what I was kind of looking at. If I change it to 5, it gives me a pretty decent market symmetry here, because it got rejected up here by the ARK, came back down, and then pushed back up above, back test the ARK, and it's just been going down the ARK. I do think that the monthly candle is probably going to close like a hammer, and I do think that we're pretty close to like bouncing back above, but it's underperforming. So $10 is going to be resistance. You're going to have a lot of resistance coming up for RIOT. $10 is going to be resistance. Ichimoku, like 9.5, somewhere around there. 13 up here, it's going to be resistance. So there's a lot of resistance up here above. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you saying thanks. Yeah, Clean Spark, if it's just 30% diluted compared to like 3, when I say just, I mean that like it's dilution, but they're also using the money to buy machines, right? They're also it's a high growth company. And anyway, I have my thoughts about like the whole dilution thing, but that's a different topic for a different time. Institution definitely has accumulated more than like 30% more than compared to December of 2023. So that's kind of the thought behind that. All right, what else do you guys want to talk about? I'm going to go to fintech. spent close to like an hour already talking about the other stuff. I'm talking about fintech, and I'm talking about China. I know Michael Macro or Jesse's probably not going to be happy with me talking about Chinese stock. I'm not talking about investment. I'm talking about more of like a global liquidity standpoint, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Chinese stock because there are some requests for that. But let's start with Robinhood. I have a position in Robinhood. My cost average is around 12. I like Robinhood. I think Robinhood just needed to cool down because it has such a big giant move up here, and the big giant move was made on bearish divergence, so it needed to cool down. It did already cool down, and right now I think it's ready to roll. It's hitting the resistance up here around 22. So let's look at Robinhood a little bit closer here, right? Let's look at the FIB retracement levels. So if I just do the all-time high to the all-time low, you can see that there is a FIB level resistance here around 25.2. If you are looking at the log scale, you can see there's resistance here around 24, right? You can see that it is hitting resistance, but so far you're building up a lot of energy trying to push through it. So what's going to happen if 24 breaks? Is 32 or 33, like right now here at the candle bottom over here? Could that be the next target? Yeah, 0.618 is pretty important, but we spent some big time here 0.5, so maybe 0.618 is not going to be that bad. Maybe we just go over the next few months, go to 50, and then just come back, test the 0.618 before going higher. I'm very bullish on Robinhood. I was not as bullish back in June, and I have not bought any Robinhood really since down here, because especially when it made this move up around June, I was not bullish because of a couple things. One thing is because the monthly chart, it was just way above the Tenkan and Kijun up in here in June. Like you just can't be that far away from that. If you be way too far from that, then you end up correcting either through price or through time. It ended up doing both. It was very brutal during the beginning of August, when things just kind of went all the way down to like $14. Who's selling Robinhood at $14? Except for people who are doing these leverage plays. They have stop loss, or they got margin called because they weren't supposed to have the shares in the first place, right? So that is one thing. The other thing that also got me a little bit worried about Robinhood was that it's just closing way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly for way too far, way too long. And it needed to have a little bit of a correction, retrace back to the mean, which is exactly what it did. And right now, price has gravitated back towards the 22 to 24 level. And guess what? The Bollinger Band throughout this process, the upper Bollinger Band is expanding, allowing price to go up higher over time, which is why I think I'm a lot more bullish. There's a reason why things correct sideways, is because it's waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand. And I can totally see in a few crazy candles that can push all the way up to 50. I can see that. Does it have to do that? I don't know. I just think that it's been making higher highs and higher lows, and I love the stock in terms of both the fundamentals and the technicals. And also, it is also potentially a crypto play as well. If I can get to some alts, I will. But I also don't want to like just kind of go crazy and talk for like 4 hours. Yeah, so Robinhood, I'm extremely bullish on it. I can do some other things with Robinhood, but I think this is probably pretty good talk on that. Another stock I have for a very long time that I'm very bullish about is AFRM. AFRM is really doing what it's supposed to, is backtesting rising 20, right? And it's been going downhill for like 8 or 7 months in a row on declining volume. You have all it takes just a little bit of volume to basically have a bull engulfing candle for like the last 6 months price action. And right now it looks like the firm wants to go up higher. You know why the firm wants to go up higher? Because if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, it doesn't really have the cloud yet, but you have the Tenkan and Kijun over here. It was initially resistance, and now you flip the resistance all through the blue line and the red line over here from resistance to support, right? When you flip things from resistance to support, that's a good thing. And another thing too, if you look at Ichimoku on the weekly, that's really a telltale sign here. The weekly is actually giving you a very, very beautiful picture here of initially breaking underneath the cloud on low volume, which is why I kept screaming for months. I was like, hey, you can keep bringing the stock down on low volume. I'm gonna keep buying, right? I bought down here in the low 30s. It kept going down here on the 20s. I'm like, hey, it didn't get support of Ichimoku Cloud. You want to keep bringing it down low volume? I'm going to keep buying. That's exactly what I did. And then next thing you know, 1, 2, 3, bam, 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 4 candles. The last candle here pushed above the Ichimoku Cloud on high volume. What does it do ever since then? Back tested the cloud as support, right? All these things are very healthy. Guess what you're also seeing? A katana. These katanas are basically suggesting a big move's coming. I think that a firm could potentially hit, and I'm not saying that this is not financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes only, because I'm telling you what I do. I have a position in a firm, and I am thinking that it could potentially hit like $90. I am really thinking it potentially hit $90, maybe higher over time. I think it's entirely possible, but I'm thinking that it could potentially hit $90. You think that it's crazy, but you might also think that it's crazy for price to hit 50 from like single digits within just a year. It did that on high volume, right? And next thing you know, it came in on low volume. Now, if you think that there's a hard landing, if the whales, by the way, a firm has like 90%, I think, institution ownership, by the way. If you're a whale and if you worry about hard landing, would you buy a firm on high volume? Would you buy a firm, a debt company that's not profitable, when you worry about banks failing? Would you buy a firm? The entire move from like through 2023 is insane. To put that into context, is insane. But anyway, it really strikes me as that the narratives are not to be trusted, and sometimes technicals can help you. PayPal, pretty high volume candle up. Is this a good thing? I don't know. Is it a good thing? You have a katana here on PayPal. On PayPal, you have a katana. It broke above the weekly Ichimoku Cloud. Is this a good thing? Are you going to have some bullish continuation, just go up, 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 up from here? I don't think so. I think you're going to end up getting rejected around here in the short term. And when it gets rejected, where is it going to go down to? Maybe down to the high 60s, right? Maybe even back test the katana. Who knows? I don't know if it's going to come back down, back test the cloud here, but I think it's just way too far outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly. Now, it's expanding, so maybe come down here. It may not come down to the high 60s. I don't know. Maybe it come back down to the low 70s and go up higher. Maybe it's just defied physics. It just keeps going bam, 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 go up, right? But I do think that it's turning bullish. But it's also short-term a little bit overextended. I'll also show you why I think short-term is a little bit overextended. It has nothing to do with the Bollinger Band at all, but it has something to do with the fact that on the monthly chart, it has flipped the Tenkan, the blue line, from resistance to support pretty convincingly over the last few months. And we are just back testing the kitchen, the red line here, for the first time. So far, we're a little bit above it, but not really. I would say that so far we're resistance. I can totally see the month not being able to close above resistance because it's the first time that we're challenging it. We're still range bound between the Tenkan, which I think will rise next month, and the kitchen, and we're still range bound, maybe potentially for another month or two, to kind of work out some of the technicals here. I'm buying PayPal. I like PayPal. I'm buying PayPal. Another thing that made me very positive about it too is it has reclaimed the 20-month moving average, which is always good. Now, it's not positive sloping yet, but just give it time. I think it will be, right? SOFI has also reclaimed a rise in 20-month moving average. Look at all these wicks down here. A lot of demand. I think SOFI is going to go higher. I did talk a little bit about SOFI on the members-only video earlier today, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Talked about Shopify too. I'm not going to talk about too much. Somebody asked about Square. I'm going to go right to Square. Now, with Square, it comes with a Gann square because I guess I drew a Gann square here before. Let me turn off the Bollinger Band here. Square is lagging behind. but it's also lagging behind on like declining volume. People just don't have interest in SQ anymore. The volume is really saying that like people are really bored by the stock. So what are we looking at here? Well, the GAN also seemed to give you pretty good market symmetry, right? Initially, two angles, got rejected an angle over here, back tested the arc, bounced hard, came to the next arc, got rejected, came back down to this arc over here, bounced, and right now it's gotten above the horizontal level here. Where is price going to end up gravitating into? Probably around the 90s, which is also a confluence zone around these levels and these levels over here. If you look at the Ichimoku on the monthly, there are some positive things that are being developed right now. I mean, you did have a bullish cross over here with the Tenkan and Kijun. You are reclaiming the Kijun here, right? But it just doesn't have that like it does even with PayPal or SOFI or AFRM. You know, it just doesn't have that to it, right? It's reclaiming the 20-month moving average so far. If we can close above the 20-month moving average, that would be a start, right? Do I think that it's going to end up just moonshotting from here? Probably not. I think it could potentially, if some impulsive price action happened, I think it potentially go up to like 90. It's going to get rejected by a bunch of stuff, including the upper Bollinger Band. On the Ichimoku, some positive development here being built up. You know, initially broke underneath the cloud here, got back inside the cloud. So far getting rejected from top of the cloud, right? So you have a lot of these different things that are building up, but I don't think it's just going to shoot up from here. I think it's probably going to be like, you know, maybe a little bit of a muted kind of thing for at least another 3 to 6 months before you're really able to challenge some of the higher levels. I think that this is a $90 is a pretty important level. So I think it probably would get rejected here again and probably would need to take some time before going up again. But I do want to say that I think SQ is looking better and better. And if you have a long horizon over the next 5 to 10 years, I think this stock could surprise you because of the long accumulation base that it has so far. That's all I think the fintech stuff. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any related. So somebody asked about a lot of these different altcoins. I'll get to them. Frog Doug, do you think Tesla will outperform BTC next month? Gosh, that's a tough question. I generally don't look at like a short time frame like that because it generally doesn't matter to me because I'm just more looking at trend. I think that Tesla is having a little bit of a problem because I do think that you might have some run up to the October 10th event. And then after that, you might have a little bit of a sell the news events, you know, like they usually do. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Actually, like if you have to compare what was going to outperform in the next month, I'm probably not like the right cat to answer for that. All I know is I cannot be bearish on Tesla anymore. I just cannot be. It's like inside the Ichimoku cloud here on a monthly, and it's reclaimed the 20-month moving average very convincingly. And last time it did that, like things, I don't think it's going to do this, you know, but last time it did that, it went up pretty significantly, right? So I think that we might be at the beginning of a bull market here for Tesla. I don't think that the beginning bull market would be that powerful. So maybe Bitcoin will still outperform. If October turns out to be a good month, then Bitcoin probably still outperform Tesla. But all of those are just speculations, and I don't know for sure. Let me get to ASTS. You guys love this crazy stock in space. It's got a tweezer top over here. It's way above the upper Bollinger Band. It can keep going up higher. It can keep going higher because the lower Bollinger Band is not contracted yet. It can go up higher. I think it still has another leg up going higher, but you guys are crazy because it's close above the upper Bollinger Band here 4 months in a row. And I think it's time to look at some of the higher targets and maybe potentially time for you to take profits, maybe not financial advice. there's a problem drawing again for ASTS because you draw again from the bottom, and there's really no history at all. So let me draw again here, but it's not going to show you any like good market symmetry, unfortunately. So let me go ahead and do that. You have to use the lowest point. I have the magnet here, so that's good. And I'm going to choose a duration. So it's going to be maybe I can do a little bit short, like 90, right? And then I'm going to change. Actually, no, I want to do 180 because I want to change that factor to maybe 1, right? I'm going to change that factor to 1. What is it doing right now? Now, again, I'm not just adjusting the box just to fit my bias, but look at what it's doing right now. ASTS, look at what it's doing right now. It's getting rejected resistance at the arc and the horizontal zone, right? It's crazy how these things work. Like it just bounced for an angle right there, came back, got rejected. You've got like a what do you call that? Gravestone doji over here. But that ended up having some bullish continuation anyway. Like I think I would have sold here, to be honest, and that would have been a mistake. You got another inverted hammer top over here, or shooting star, whatever we call it. And right now it's underneath resistance. Right now, remember I said that I think there's going to be another leg going up on from here, and don't forget to take profits. Right, I could be wrong. This could be the top, but based on Bollinger Band, it might end up going up to the 60s. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Sorry, I got to drink something. I just kept talking for like an hour. You can potentially go up to the 60s to finish this like big giant move that went away from like $2 to like that's just crazy. But like, is it worth, like, let's say you bought down here, is it worth the risk of this at resistance? Maybe it doesn't get up there, right? Maybe next thing you know, it just kind of goes sideways and the monthly Bollinger Band would contract. Maybe it doesn't get up there, right? That's a risk too, right? So is it worth that, extra greed to try to get up to the 60s potentially and not take profit from all the way from like $2? I don't know. You decide. And link, and yeah. So the whole thing about Bitcoin dominance is it's getting to the point that it's just like unsustainable. I posted this chart on X. I think it's just like a big rounded top, and I guess it's a log scale, so it's not fair. But on a regular, it looks like a big rounded top. And this big rounded top is happening on RSI. Also, just keep on looking weaker and weaker. Where's my RSI? The rounded top here is also happening on at the same time when you are also having a little bit of a bearish divergence here building up for a very long time, right? What I mean by bearish divergence is that Bitcoin dominance continues to go up since October of last year, but RSI continued to go down since October of last year. This is a weekly chart. Then this looks like a little bit of like a toppy kind of candle. Is that going to be the top of Bitcoin dominance? I don't know. It could be, but all I can tell you is that if you also look at the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart, does this look like the potential bottom for Ethereum over Bitcoin? I think so. You are going down on bullish divergence, right? And then on top of that, the current zone around 0.04, there's also a lot of history over here, right? Which is why I think that most likely the downtrend Ethereum over Bitcoin may be coming to an end. And that's where we are, right? I'm extremely bullish on Dogecoin. I know you didn't ask about Dogecoin, but I'm extremely bullish on Dogecoin. And I have a position that I'm building on Dogecoin. The reason why I'm bullish on Dogecoin is because just look at the market structure: higher high, higher low, compared to high here and then the low here, right? Nowhere near being overbought. And on top of that, 20-month moving average is flipping us from resistance to support, right? You had the initial push up to expand the Bollinger Band, right? to allow price to go up higher over time. You had like initial push up here with the wick over here to allow price to kind of expand over time, right? So far, I'm not really seeing anything that's like really all that bearish here. I did write a Gann chart here. I think price might go up to like maybe at least like $1 or $2. The cycle is kind of what I'm thinking, which is a pretty significant gain, if you will, right? How far is the cycle going to end up? I don't know. Do I think it's going to end up making a move like it did over here? No, I do not. Like this move over here is absolutely insane. If it makes a move like that, I'm going to miss out because I'm going to exit way before that. My profit taking zone, I hope it gets to $2. If I see any warning sign, I might take profits before that. Chainlink. What do you want to know about Chainlink? I drew a Gann here. I think the Gann was based on a what's it based on? Weekly? Yeah, it's based on weekly 720 and 1. And I'm going to get rid of the Bollinger Band here because it's just really noisy. Why do I think that we are at a good spot with Chainlink? Is because look at the market symmetry here of the arcs, right? Rejected, push through, rejected, came back, angle, arc, push through the arc, back test the arc has resistance, flip it from resistance to support. And right now we're at the angle. Angle looks like it's holding very well. This is the, this is the 45-degree angle. This is a very, very important angle. Right now, though, we're stuck underneath the 0.136. That's really it. You know, that's the resistance that we're dealing with right now. If you do a little bit more of a logarithmic scale, you know, you might have a little bit more resistance up here. But the whole overall idea that I have the fit level here in the first place is show you where it could potentially go this cycle. And I'm also going to zoom out here a little bit because I think it's also important to put into context. You're also underneath a little bit of resistance here on a rising 20-month moving average. But because it's rising, I think it's going to get above of it. You also have very nice tweezer bottom. This looks like very similar to Mara, doesn't it? This looks very similar to Bitfarms, doesn't it? Nice tweezer bottom over here, hammer bottom over here. If it closed like this month, very nice, right? Going back, zooming out, getting rid of the Bollinger Band here. Where's price going to go? At least to this arc, maybe to the 20s. Could that be the end of the cycle? Maybe. If it breaks above the arc, where's the next level? 130. Yeah, probably around 130, which is the 2.618. Could end up hitting like some of the lower levels before that. Could it just end up hitting the previous all-time high and just get rejected and just end the cycle? Possibly. I don't think so, though. Look at this big giant accumulation zone over here. This over here also looks like reaccumulation. This is just like a descending wedge. So yeah, this all look like a reaccumulation. Does the cycle end in 20s? Probably not. I actually think it's more reasonable for it to end up in the triple digits than it is to end up, you know, down here. It just makes more sense to me. So what was the question for Link? Can you look at Link? So yeah, William, I'm answering that question for you. Fetchin, Ethereum. I love Ethereum. I think it's going to do well this cycle. And let's look at why I think I still love Ethereum, even though it's been severely underperforming Bitcoin for the last year and a half or so. It's extremely painful to hold Ethereum because of that. Now, I have a Gann here, and this Gann was drawn based on the monthly, 180 and 1,000. Where do I think we are at the cycle? Well, look at a previous cycle top at the arc, cycle top at the arc, cycle top at the arc. It's logical to think that this cycle could potentially end up closing at the arc. Now, it could also end up closing at the horizontal zone over here too. That's also a possibility, like it did over here, right? At a horizontal line. If it ends up closing in a confluent zone of the arc and horizontal, where would it land? Well, I mean, would the cycle be like topping in May 2025? Probably not. But I can totally see it hitting maybe wick to the horizontal up here, which currently is this 1.618 Fibonacci extension level, is at 14,000. I think it's entirely possible for Ethereum to hit 14,000. And that's going to be a potential target here. I might take profits before that, but I'm going to leave a moon back just because this sideways consolidation here is just so powerful. And it looks like it wants to just, go higher. Trees are bottom on the monthly. Again, this looks like Mara, it looks like Bitfarm, it looks like Chainlink. It is holding the 20-month moving average. Again, it looks like the miners. All these things look very, very similar, right? It's also holding the 0.618, which is very, very important Fibonacci level, right? I think the next step is it's going to go up because it's hitting some very important support levels here on the 20, on the 0.618. And on top of all that, the monthly Ichimoku cloud is holding the Ichimoku cloud. So far, kitchen up here, maybe a little bit as resistance. If we can close above the kitchen, which is above 25.83, I think if we can close above that, that would be great. Then that means all this just a flush to kind of grab a lot of liquidity, but a lot of liquidity has been grabbed and there's a lot of demand underneath. That's what Ethereum looks like to me. I do think that Ethereum is another way to track this is to look at the RSI. I do think that Ethereum is probably going to end up hitting the euphoric RSI level. It just hasn't really been anywhere near it. I do think that Ethereum is going to hit these levels up here. So I'm going to have to monitor the RSI. If it ends up hitting the RSI level up here, I have to be a lot more cautious. But just because it hits the RSI here doesn't mean the price won't go up higher, right? Because it hit the top of the RSI over here, but then price continued to make another leg up higher. Like it made like another 5x up here, right? It hit the top of the RSI over here, but then price continued to maybe like made another 1.5x after that, right? So I need to look and see, especially if there's a little bit of a bullish diversion or bearish divergence, like where you have RSI over here, exhausted, make another exhausted move. Same thing here, right? RSI exhausted, make another exhausted move up. So you might hit the RSI trend line here, and that might still not be the top. And I do think that if you hit the RSI trend line up here, then you're probably going to end up hitting the 1.618. So there's a potential for it to go higher. I just don't know how much higher. And I'm going to leave a moon back here just in case. And that's what I think about Ethereum. Fetch. Which one do I have? There you go. This is my baby here. So it's not 165. Do I have weekly? Did I do this on weekly? 720 in one. Yep, I did it on weekly. Looking at Fetch, what do I think? I am not bearish on it because look at the amazing market symmetry that this game has given you. Like I have not seen one that looks this beautiful. Look at how beautiful this chart is, right? Resistance flips support, resistance came back down, and then trying to flip this arc back, to support again, got rejected here at the horizontal. Pushed through, got rejected up here at the arc for the first time. It tested the arc up here for the first time, came back down, back test the horizontal as support, bounced, right? So it's probably going to get back up to the arc here. Again, it was able to push for the arc. The next level is going to be $7. It was able to break through the $7 level. Next thing is going to be like in the 20s, in the low teens and high 20s, somewhere up here. So yeah, I could potentially see making a 10x, maybe a little bit more. That's entirely possible. It's crypto. I think if you ask about RNDR, I have a very similar chart where basically it also has some really beautiful market symmetry, right? Basically, it's just backtesting confluence zone of the arc and the angle here. So I think it's probably going to end up, higher. I think it at least would probably challenge the previous all-time high here, but could render potentially end up making like a 10x from here to like 50. I think it's possible. Can it make like 14x or whatever up to like the 80s and 90s? I think it's possible too. It's crypto. Anything can happen. Look at how nice the 45-degree angle has been holding, right? yeah, this is 360 and 5. So these are pretty standard number. Like I didn't really fluctuate or anything like that, right? So these are some of the potential numbers up here. We'll see where it gets to 2025. I can keep talking about all of this, you know, but I think people might be a little bit bored with me talking about crypto now. Rose, I don't have a GAN here, but it's just basically back testing a level over here. You know, I can look at the Ichimoku, and it's been trying to reclaim the the Tenkan here from resistance to support. A lot of these charts look very similar across different crypto. Is that they're finding support here at the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. They basically broke inside the Ichimoku cloud and they're finding support at the bottom part of the Ichimoku cloud. I'll show you what I mean by that. DOGE, right, did that, right? Avalanche did that. You asked about Cardano. Cardano's holding that too, right? Chainlink didn't even went back down, found support before that. Solana didn't even have to go break underneath the 2-week chart. It just kind of stay on top of the cloud. It's crazy. I have a very, very small cap crypto here called BOA. It's holding the it's holding the 2-week cloud here just fine. AMP, that position I have, got back inside of the 2-week cloud, right? Cortesi's broken underneath. It's unfortunate. That's also one of the laggards. But Graph is inside. You know, like all these charts are basically showing you the same thing. I guess XRP broke underneath of it, but all these charts are showing you very, very similar thing. That is inside the 2-week cloud, got close to the bottom, find support somehow. That's the story of altcoins. The story of altcoins, you can look at others. I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to end the the crypto chat and see what else you guys want to kind of talk about after that. But let me get a sip of water here. Yeah, Fetchin, that was pretty overwhelming. Let me get more tea here because I can't just keep talking for an hour and a half. Okay. Others chart. What is others chart? It's the total crypto market cap excluding the top 10 coins. And I see two things on the total chart that make me feel very bullish. One is it backtests this trend line over here. And you can see this very clearly. And all of this, like even miners look like this. You know, you have like a trees at bottom. All of these look very similar, right? The other thing here too is if you do the Bollinger Band, you show a 20-month moving average. It's just basically serving as really decent support, right? So all of these are basically giving a very, very nice picture that altcoins, I think, most likely have bottomed. And I think that what that means is that altcoins can make some pretty shocking moves that a lot of people don't expect. I don't expect it to do it, but it looked like it could, right? It looked like it could. You asked about CRV. I'm going to say this about CRV. I cannot do a Gantt chart for this because it's just most recently just made like lower low, and it just keeps on making lower low. And it's like a definition on a higher time frame as a falling knife because the 20-month moving average is curling down. And it's still a knife. You know, if you catch the knife, you can catch it together with credible crypto. Or, you know, I think Big Mike is into CRV too, but I don't know if I want to get into that. Let's see if I would, based on any potential bullish divergence, right? On the monthly, I'm not really seeing any clear bullish divergence that hasn't already worked out. Like you have some bullish divergence, I guess, from here going down, and the R side did go up a little bit, right? But it kind of broke underneath of that. So I'm not really seeing any like bullish divergence for me to really want to enter this. Yeah, I'm not really spotting any for me to want to be in it. Short term, put the Ichimoku here. Short term, can it go up higher? Yeah. It's reclaiming the weekly Tenkan, right? Per current price can go from like 29 cents all the way up to like even like 45 cents. And that'd be a pretty good gain. It can even go all the way up to the cloud to like 58. It's going to get rejected. It's going to get rejected hard, though. I don't think it's going to just push through like that, right? And that would be a very, very big move and it'd be exhausting a lot of energy. And by the time you get there, you're gonna end up getting rejected hard. But yeah, that could potentially be a lot of gain. And then next thing you know, like credible crypto is like, see, I told you, it made like a 2x or whatever. But yeah, it's an opportunity for trade. But I for like a cycle hold, I probably wouldn't do that. I can't even do it again with this. So, thank you for doing that. All right. So I think I've already answered like all the questions. So somebody asked about VWAGY. I have no idea what that is. So I'm going to spend not too much time on this. Volkswagen. Volkswagen. It's a support. You know why? Because it's at the COVID support. This is an insane chart. It's a falling knife, right? Getting some resistance on a negative sloping tangent, right? Is it because they like wanted to invest in Rivian? Is that why? Anyway, let's look at a higher time frame. On the monthly, it's just like way dropping underneath the cloud, way underneath the 20-month moving average, and the Bollinger Band expanding to the downside. I worry about you. Any bullish diversions to be speaking of? You're going to try and catch a falling knife? A little bit, not much. Price down, RSI maybe flat, maybe a little bit up. On a different time frame, yeah, price go down, and then the RSI go up a little bit. There's a potential that this is bottoming, but I cannot confirm that is a bottom. If you really like Volkswagen that much, if you really want to catch a falling knife, it's not a bad place to catch it, but it could go down lower. It's not a bad place to catch a knife. Sometimes you just gotta catch a knife, you know. Like I don't know, like if you want to do that, that's not a terrible thing to do. Yeah, I talked about SOFI. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I'm gonna talk about SOFI here real quick, and maybe talk a little bit about a couple of Chinese stocks that somebody had kind of requested the Hang Seng. I do want to talk about the Hang Seng for a very specific reason, but let me talk about SOFI first. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. SOFI, what do I think about SOFI? Institutions are accumulating. The price had basically just kind of gone down, but it really wasn't that justified. During this downtrend over here, the unbalanced volume is actually up. So there's a lot of secret buying sauce from institutions behind the scene. I think there are two things that are happening. One is that there are like a bunch of fund managers and sheeps that are following everybody, still following like old narratives, hard landing, you know, great financial crisis, whatever. They're still shorting stock pretty heavily. The other one is institutions just been buying behind the scene, and they've probably been trying to suppress the price. They're like, oh, you guys want to short? Yeah, do it. We'll keep getting shares away from. So whenever this thing breaks, it's gonna like break up in a very, very explosive way. And what this is SoFi. Like you go downstairs and you go up on an elevator. You go downstairs, you go up on an elevator, and you've been going downstairs for like a whole year, right? You might go up on an elevator all the way to like $14 in a hurry. I still think that that's the case. Like this looks like a big giant. This looks like a big giant like descending wedge. I guess it still needs to break above that, right? I have the magnet on. That's why. Anyway, this looks like a big giant like descending wedge, right? So it still needs to kind of break above. But what it did break above is this big giant bear market trend line that has been ongoing for like 3 years now. We broke above of that, and that's something to be said about it. I think that we are still at resistance at the weekly Ichimoku, but I think we've tested enough. I think it's probably going to break through by the end of the year. It's going to go up, and when it goes up, it can hit like $10 in a hurry. 10 is probably going to be my first target, but 14 is going to be like my ultimate target. I'm still buying, but yeah, it's a pretty decent setup right now. 20-week moving average is curling up. 20-month moving average is also curling up, and it's also using a support, right? So higher time frame, medium time frame, they all look good. I have nothing bad to say about SoFi. I think that $10 is going to get rejected here if it ends up going up in a hurry, because the Bollinger Band is contracting, and because you're just not going to, like, the upper Bollinger Band is going to serve as resistance. But I do think that ultimately in 2025, I would not be surprised if it hits like 14. This whole down move here is just absolutely insane, you know. I've been a holder. I mean, I've been buying like really for a very long time. I've been buying over here. I've been accumulating with the whales. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I'm gonna go through one couple last things here to kind of end the show. Through this is because I've been, you know, now when I'm talking about China, I do want to make it very clear it's not investment, it's a trade. Like, because their economy is actually, yeah, like the more I learn about it, the more I think that they're actually a little bit in shambles. But that doesn't mean that global liquidity and Chinese liquidity is not going to end up pushing stock prices higher, right? The one thing that is finally accomplished, which it hasn't done, is looks like it might end up closing above the 20-month moving average, and the 20 moving average is flattening. So what I'm really seeing, like, if you're able to flip the 20-month moving average from resistance to support, and if the Bollinger Band is squeezing, that tells you that you're going to have a trend change, right? What I mean by that is if you have something like this or something like this, where it's just kind of reclaim the 20-month moving average from resistance to support, you might end up having some pretty powerful move over the next 12 to 18 months. Thanks for the super chat, my man. I appreciate that. And yeah, I only because I spent like 30 minutes talking about your tickers. No, just kidding. I love altcoins, and you picked like some of my favorites. So yeah, and it looks like also too this last couple of months, what is it doing? Having a lot of wicks underneath below too, right? So this is how, if you're wondering how come stocks have an Adam and Eve type picture, this is the perfect explanation as to why that is. It's because you have a downtrend that has to end at some point and bounce, but when it does a very nice V-shaped recovery, you're going to end up usually having some like long-term moving averages that's like negative sloping that's going to reject it, right? And because of that, you're going to get an Adam rejection, and you're going to make an Eve, and the Eve is going to be decelerated. And as it decelerates, the negatively sloping moving average is also going to decelerate, right? That's exactly what's happening. And then during this whole period of time, you're basically having 20 candles, so the 20 month is actually going to end up flattening out, right? And that's exactly what's doing. That's why you have an Adam and Eve bottom, right? And I think that right now it wants to get back about the 20, and it might complete the Eve top over here. When it completes the Eve top over here, Bollinger Band might end up being a little bit of resistance, you know. But regardless, I'm seeing a positive trend change here. That's what I'm trying to say. The Hang Seng does this, like it does this like double bottom thing all the time, or like a little asymmetric like head and shoulder kind of pattern all the time. Like it is doing that over here. It did that over here. You know, it did that over here. And like it's just have this like kind of nasty looking thing, and it's just next thing you know, it just goes up a lot more. I think that global liquidity is probably not going back into China to really pump the stock back to like all-time highs. But I do think that it doesn't have all-time highs for you to profit from a trade with Chinese stocks. So I am not recommending one way or another. I would say that if I want to buy something, I would probably end up buying US stocks and US equities. It's not loading Ichimoku for me, so I'm going to reload this here. Is my internet sucking or what? Is this what this is? Okay. Can you guys still hear me? All right, I might just end the show then. I was going to get to Futu and all that, but if I cannot pull up my here, then there's really not much else I can do. So unless you guys have any other questions, I think that Futu is one of the better looking Chinese stocks. And I'm sorry, I think there was a request specifically for Futu. I couldn't get to it, but at least you hear my Hang Seng talk. The rest of the show I was going to show you the Hang Seng index, and I'm going to show you that on the monthly, the Ichimoku cloud is looking pretty decent. I think it's starting to kind of reclaim the tank in the kitchen, if I remember correctly. I'm not able to show you that, but the whole point of me even talking about that is because I want to talk about how if China is actually looking like it's bottoming and have a little bit of a short-term 12 to 18 months rally, then can you imagine what crypto is going to do? Can you imagine what potentially Bitcoin's going to do? Can you imagine what IWM is going to do? Can you imagine all the other stocks are going to do? I think we might be entering be that bullish for 2025. Anyway, it's still having a hard time loading. I'm probably going to end the show here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining Frog Dog. I hope I answer your questions as best I can. Thank you, Vetchin, for the super chat. Jules, Low Gains, the usual suspect. V, my right hand, I don't know, genderless a supportive account. I'm just going to leave it as that. And everybody, you guys, and Rock as well, thank you for joining. William, thank you for joining. Everybody, Trading 101, thank you for joining. You guys have a great night and take care.